Coming up next, serious money trouble for a local ambulance service. Find out where they need help right now.
If we run dry, there's no more money. More than likely, we close up.
Plus, inside an old local landmark.
Well, I didn't know how bad it was, but when I saw it, I recognized it's terribly bad.
Meet the man who's giving it a bright future.
And the debate over whether to let college athletes make money from their names. The Center County Report starts now. Good afternoon. I'm Courtney Guyrie.
And I'm Zach Kaplan. Thanks so much for joining us today. We begin with the Jerry Sandusky abuse case. There's been a 2-week delay in his resentencing. The former Penn State defensive coordinator was scheduled to be in court this afternoon, but that's now been delayed until November 22nd in Bellefonte. Both sides say they need more time to prepare. Sandusky's serving a 30 to 60-year prison sentence on his child sex abuse conviction, but an appeals court ruled the mandatory minimums had not been properly applied in the case.
Many parts of central Pennsylvania saw their first snowflakes of the season last night and this morning, and it definitely feels like winter out there. Let's go ahead and check in with our weather anchor, Matt Yaroslavic, outside with the latest on what's happening and what's on the way. Matt?
Thanks, Courtney. Cold morning this morning. We actually were dealing with temperatures in the teens this morning, and if you woke up early like me, you woke up to a light blanket of snow across grassy surfaces and even your car this morning, so you might have had to dust that off this morning. Looking at the radar right now, we can still see a few snow showers in the area just south of State College coming off of the lake, and temperatures around the state right now as well in the mid-30s, and that's where we will stay for the rest of today. A slight warm up as we head into the weekend, and we're actually watching a system for Monday into Tuesday, which could bring some rain, maybe even another dose of snow to the area as well, and then temperatures behind that will fall into the 30s for high temps. Zach, I'm going to send it back to you.
Thanks, Matt. It's getting cold out there, and we all know some Pennsylvania fire companies are struggling with volunteers and money, and now you can add a local emergency medical services to the list. Port Matilda EMS is facing serious financial trouble, and it needs some help. Reporter Fiona Dager has more.
What happens if you dial 911 and no one shows up?
If something happens, are you willing to wait?
Emergency medical services in small towns like Port Matilda are facing a critical financial situation that could lead to a collapse of these services.
Financially, money's really tight.
In a Facebook post last week, Port Matilda EMS said they only have enough funding for their next payroll cycle. For areas like this, the ambulance is the community's biggest safety net.
If we run dry, there's no more money. More than likely, we close up.
Experts warn that close to 1/3 of all rural emergency medical services are in immediate danger of closing down, and the staff at Port Matilda EMS is already a small team.
Right now, employees, I have, I believe, 10.
Which means they work very long hours.
One person might have 60, 70, 80 hours in 1 week.
But this EMT says they do it all for the safety of their community. Neighbors helping neighbors.
We have a lot of people getting older, so they run into those health factors.
And the cost of maintaining an ambulance is certainly not cheap.
I have an ambulance that's in a garage in repair, and with money being tight, we really don't know how we're going to afford to pay to get that thing fixed.
The system that is supposed to save our community is now in need of a rescue. Fundraising efforts to save Port Matilda EMS are ongoing. For the Center County Report, I'm Fiona Dager.
Thank you, Fiona. Obviously a very harrowing story in our community, but residents can purchase a year-long EMS membership, which gives them coverage for EMS services. Donations are also being accepted through PayPal, with a link listed on the Port Matilda EMS Facebook page.
A presidential candidate's campaign bus made a stop in State College on its way to New Hampshire. South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, a Democrat, was not at the Wednesday event on Penn State's campus, but his campaign held a small gathering near Medlar Field. Volunteers spoke and passed out information about the candidate, and student Sarah Beth Bowmaster says she was encouraged by the message.
He really cares about the whole of America. He's not taking sections of America or marginalizing America. He really wants to bring us back together, have us care about our fellow humans, and I'm really passionate about that.
The first presidential primaries for the 2020 election are coming up in just 3 months.
Speaking of politics, but on the local side, Election Day is over, but there's still plenty going on in our area. Among the results from Tuesday's voting, State College Mayor Don Hahn will succeed a retiring magisterial district judge. Hahn is expected to resign as mayor next month. Other results include Democratic incumbents Jesse Barlow and Janet Engman returning on the State College Borough Council alongside newcomers Deanna Baring and Peter Marshall. Democrats Michael Pipe and Mark Higgins will remain on the Board of Commissioners for another 4 years. Pennsylvania voters also approved a constitutional victims' rights amendment known as Marsy's Law, but the state Supreme Court said votes won't count because of an ongoing legal challenge.
Most off-year elections have a low turnout because many of the races don't spark a lot of interest. But some are trying to encourage more college students to vote, saying the impact from their choices means a lot more than they might think. Carolyn Sistrin reports.
It's vital. A local election is vital to an area, especially like Center County.
On Election Day, voters went to the polls to make their voices heard. Some voters on Tuesday were Penn State students who have only been in the area for a short time, many coming from out of state. Judge of Elections Jordan Emily says that before these students enter their ballot, they should know how these elections affect them.
A lot of people are very focused on, who's running for president, who's in the presidential election, and no one's really focused on who's the borough councilman, who's representing me as a student of Penn State, who's the county commissioners, what are they doing, what does their platform look like?
Penn State students are considered residents of Center County for 75% of the year, which has given the community a unique opportunity to have students register and vote in local elections. Some students are taking advantage of the opportunity to get involved in their second community. Junior Noel Caverly is originally from California, and before casting his vote, he studied who and what was going to be on the ballot.
I try to stay informed, and when the vote comes, I see what there is and see how those follow my values.
Many Center County residents and Penn State students came out to vote with the local questions in mind, but they couldn't help but think about the 2020 presidential election that looms in the future and how their votes on Tuesday could affect that.
As the highly contested race for the presidency continues, Emily emphasized that coming out for your local elections, whether a Center County resident or Penn State student, is even more important now that 2020 is just weeks away.
We sit, right in the center of Pennsylvania. So being able to have elected officials who can best represent us, going across the state and saying, these are the people who I represent. These are who resides in my county. It's very, very important. And it shows who we are as people.
I feel like it's really important to come out and vote because, especially in Pennsylvania, I feel like a lot of change can happen here.
Reporting from State College, I'm Carolyn Sistrin for the Center County Report.
Looking ahead to next year's election, the Pennsylvania primary is on April 28th.
Last week, the NCAA announced a unanimous vote to explore college athletes profiting from the use of their name, image, and likeness. But what does that actually mean? I went out this week and talked with a former Penn State football player to try and find some answers. Last week's vote to allow college athletes to profit off their name, image, and likeness is progress, but many are still skeptical. Former Penn State football player and Big Ten champion Paris Palmer says people still misunderstand what beating a student athlete entails.
For the most part, the biggest misconception just overall is that, these student athletes only deal with their sport on a daily basis or only deal with being a student athlete and juggling school and their sports. And oftentimes that's just not the case.
Palmer is curious to see how student athletes are able to take advantage of the rule changes, but thinks that California making the first move could impact college sports at their roots.
First thing that came to mind was recruiting. I'm like, that changes everything. It makes it so unfair now because that's your pitch, and it changes it for not just the player, but their families, the pitch to them, those communities and everything.
The NCAA has been known in the past to drag its feet when it comes to improving the lives of student athletes. Penn State professor John Affleck, who's in charge of Penn State's Curley Center for Sports Journalism, thinks the move provides the NCAA with a stall tactic.
The NCAA basically gave itself a couple of years to get things together, and in terms of legislation for all three divisions. California's law takes effect in 2023. They had to do something before that or just go into litigation.
I would be totally shocked if this were something that were to happen like in the next year or two. I feel like this is something that the NCAA has dreaded for a long time.
Palmer and Affleck both agree that they hope the change can bring back the popular video game NCAA football, which was last produced by EA Sports in 2014.
And will this shot of cold weather continue into next week? Matt is back with the forecast coming up.
Plus, police hope you can help them find the person who attacked an Uber driver. Also coming up, we'll take you inside an old historic hotel in Center County that now has a very bright future. That story is after the break. Commercial. Killing the reopen. Straight to Uber assault.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Get caught buzz driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom. It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Even if I tried, even if I wanted to.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent. We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness. I am a witness. I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Welcome back. State College police are asking for public help to identify a suspect in an assault case. They say last Saturday around 2 a.m., this man in this photo walked on top of an Uber, causing damage to the vehicle. Then they say he assaulted the driver when confronted. This happened on East Calder Way between Garner and Sowers Streets. State College police say if you know who this is, please give them a call.
A landmark in central Pennsylvania built in the 1920s has a new owner and a hopeful future. I checked out the years of damage done on the building in Phillipsburg and got to hear about the renovation plans.
In the heart of downtown Phillipsburg, a 7-story building, once a thriving hotel and restaurant, stands tall and strong. But being vacant since 2012, the inside is a different story.
Well, I didn't know how bad it was. You're not allowed to preview it. But when I saw it, I recognized it's terribly bad.
Pittsburgh native Albert Bruno caught interest in the Phillips Hotel while working in the area.
I thought it was such a shame that this was a part of Phillipsburg, a big part at one point in time, and that it sat here like this without anybody doing something about it.
He made it known to his coworkers at the time that he would love to buy the building one day and restore it. And once it was up for sale,
I wasn't sure if I was going to actually do anything about it, but I ended up bidding on it and winning.
Although he's never faced a project quite this big, Bruno hopes to bring life back to the Phillips, the place that was once the center of this town's social scene.
But it's still a good building. It still has meaning to this community. And I think it could be something if it's restored.
His hope is to make it a hotel once again, but it definitely needs a lot of work.
I do know this was the restaurant and bar part. And the history that I do know was that for whatever reason they shut down, they didn't shut the building down. It developed a water leak.
And although he did clean out most of the main floor when he first purchased it, debris continues to fall.
None of what you see on the floor, none of this was here. This was all cleared out, completely cleaned.
Because Bruno is currently working on another project in the area, there's no set deadline for the hotel, but he is very excited to see how things turn out.
if you want to thrive as a community, you need a hotel, you need restaurants, you need things that bring people from other cities, other townships.
Now, if not fully restored by this time next year, Bruno jokingly said he may just have to make the building a giant haunted house. Now, I don't know if I'd be able to do that. A 7-story haunted house, that's a lot.
I mean, that's like a day right there. That's an entire day
Yeah.
to go through all 7 stories.
It'd be something.
Well, we just had Halloween and some colder weather starting to move in as we get into November here. Here's Matt Urosavik with the forecast.
Thanks, Zach and Courtney. Yeah, colder weather has moved in, and we saw those temperatures behind our storm that impacted us yesterday drop into the 20s overnight, and wind chills were in the teens this morning, and we're still only in the mid-30s, and we can still see a few snow showers just south of Center County and State College, streaming off of the lake up here in Lake Erie, and that's where our northwest flow is coming from, creating our first snow of the season in some places. If we zoom out a little bit, we can see that our storm system well off up into Canada, and you can see those lake effect snow showers streaming down from the northwest, and those will persist at least for the next few hours before they will taper off. But temperatures live right now at Beaver Stadium, 34 degrees, under some cloud cover because of those snow showers, but feeling like 26 degrees with that northwest wind of 9 miles an hour. Now, for this day in November, normally our high temperature is 53 degrees, but we're only going to get into the mid-30s for today, and that will be the big story, and temperatures will continue to be the big story through the weekend and into next week. Right now, temperatures not looking too bad, but 34 degrees is still a little chilly out there. Our cold air centered up over the Great Lakes right now, and that has moved its way into our region. And look at Tampa right now, 82 degrees, sunny skies, and we're at 33, dealing with those snow showers. Temperatures will continue to be a big story. 5 o'clock tonight, we're still in the 30s, and then overnight tonight, we dip down into the 20s, and then back up into the 30s again tomorrow, near 40 degrees. But then for your weekend, we could see a little bit higher. 37 today, mostly sunny skies. Gusts could be up to about 25 miles an hour. 22 degrees overnight tonight. And then for tomorrow, we do get up to around 40 degrees with mostly sunny skies. A quick look at your forecast, though. 7-day forecast, Sunday, 51 degrees, and that will be the high temp on our map. We are watching a storm system that could impact plans Monday and Tuesday, could bring some rain or snow showers in the picture.
So first of all, can't believe how cold it's going to be coming up these next couple of days. And second of all, I believe you have a birthday on our set. Is
that so?
Matt Urosavik? It's your birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Big 2-3, is that right?
That is correct.
Some people call it the Michael Jordan year, the LeBron James year. So
I like it.
Well, speaking of basketball and other sports, we'll send it over to Brian McLaughlin, who has the latest in Penn State sports. Coming up.
Thanks, guys. I'm more of a Michael Jordan fan myself. Coming up next in sports, Penn State Hoops had its first game of the season against Maryland Eastern Shore. Plus, Penn State football prepares for another ranked matchup this weekend following their first college football playoff ranking of the season. That and more after the break.
In 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How would you not love him?
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
I'm Brian McLaughlin with sports. Penn State football is on the way to Minnesota for a matchup of undefeated teams tomorrow. It could be easy for the Nittany Lions to lose focus after the first college football playoff rankings came out, but James Franklin's 1-0 mentality continues to drive the team. While Minnesota and Penn State are both 8-0 this season, for at least one team, Saturday's matchup is just about going 1-0. As usual, after the first college football playoff rankings, Penn State finds itself firmly in the playoff picture. Franklin was not watching those rankings that came out this past Tuesday that had Penn State at their highest ranking ever at number 4 in the country.
We're focused on Minnesota and trying to find a way to be 1-0, and any energy we spend on other things takes away from it.
When the rankings were released, Franklin tweeted Minnesota 25 times, seemingly trying to remind everyone, rankings don't matter unless you win. The Gophers and coach P.J. Fleck know this better than anyone. Despite having the same record as Penn State, they are sitting 13 spots lower in the rankings at number 17 and have a major point to prove Saturday. Senior punter Blake Gillikin has been around Franklin for 4 years now, and while he says the coach's 1-0 act is corny, it's also effective.
It really, really works. I think even the guys on the team now will tweet that out, and some will say something in the locker room about 2 weeks down the road, and someone will come back at them and say, we're focused on this week, like this week, Minnesota, Minnesota, Minnesota.
The vibe around this Penn State team could be special, according to Gillikin. This team reminds him a lot of the 2016 group that won the Big Ten championship when he was a freshman.
From top to bottom, our team is totally on the same page right now. The communication is phenomenal between the coaching staff and the players and back on up. So just really valuing that right now and hoping to continue that. And that's been a huge part of our success.
Penn State and Minnesota kick off at noon. You can listen to the game live on Penn State Com Radio. The State High Little Lions are set for their first playoff game tonight against District 10 champion Erie McDowell. Reporter Dylan Huberman has our preview.
The State College Little Lions had a strong regular season, finishing with an impressive 9-1 record. Despite the record, Coach Matt Lentell says the Little Lions have no intention of taking their foot off the gas.
Our goal is to get better every week. That's been a goal from the get-go, and I think we've done that. We try to build our program that we peak at the right time, and this is the time to peak.
Tonight is that opportunity that Matt Lentell and company have been waiting for. They're coming off a big win over Cumberland Valley in the Beaver Stadium Classic almost 2 weeks ago. But now the stakes get bigger.
The bright lights of the playoffs leave little room for error, but senior quarterback and offensive captain Brady Dorner believes his team can avoid making many mistakes.
Throughout the week, Coach really puts in our heads that, we want to limit turnovers, limit mistakes. We got to have that mentality of having a big play every play.
Dorner will look to spearhead a repeat of last season's game against McDowell. The two teams met just less than a year ago on November 8th with the same playoff stakes, and State College ran away with a 55-20 win. From State College, I'm Dylan Huberman for the Center County Report.
The game is set for tonight at 7 at Erie Veterans Memorial Stadium. Penn State men's basketball season is underway. The Nittany Lions hosted Maryland Eastern Shore Tuesday at the BJC. Center Mike Watkins kicked things off with a nice layup in the opening minutes, and forward Lamar Stevens is picking up right where he left off last season. He finished on opening night with 17 points and 6 boards while going 3 for 4 from the free throw line. Penn State finished with a 84-46 win over UMES. The Lions return to the Bryce Jordan Center tomorrow to take on Wagner. The Penn State men's hockey team jumped up to number 6 in this week's rankings after sweeping the Wisconsin Badgers last weekend. Senior goalie Peyton Jones led the way for the Nittany Lions against the Badgers with 63 total saves over the 2-game stretch. He also earned the Big Ten's first star of the week. This weekend, they'll take on Michigan State. It's the Spartans' first Big Ten series of the season, and they enter with a 2-4 record. Penn State Wrestling begins its season this Sunday against Navy at 2 o'clock at Rec Hall. The team returns top seniors and former national champions Vincenzo Joseph and Mark Hall. However, the Nittany Lions did lose program record holders Bo Nickel and Jason Nolf. Coach Cale Sanderson says the team will find new leaders.
We're not a team that designate captains or anything like that. We kind of something that happens naturally. I think the seniors are trying to be leaders.
Penn State men's soccer starts Big Ten tournament play this Sunday as the number 2 seed Nittany Lions host the 7-seeded Wisconsin Badgers. The Nittany Lions beat Wisconsin 2-1 during the regular season. It's been 7 games since Penn State dropped the match, coming against the regular season Big Ten champions, Indiana. The game against Wisconsin starts at 1 at Jeffrey Field. That's all for sports. Now back to you guys at the anchor desk.
Thanks, Brian. Coming up next, the red carpet is rolling out this weekend. Find out what event is drawing filmmakers and film lovers to a historic location in Phillipsburg. That's next.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised.
Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
I rescued Toast from a shelter in 2011. I love Toast because she's a lazy diva. Toast does whatever she wants, obviously. She's sleeping right now. She's an epic snuggler. She's so comforting. She's so loving. Toast makes me laugh. When I walked into the shelter, I knew right then that she was special.
Okay, Simon, what do people wear?
Clothes.
That's right. So it's important to learn how to dress yourself. Here's how it's done. Shirt, underwear, pants, socks, shoes. Underwear, always first, name tag on the back. Then pants and shirt. Go ahead and put this on. Now with the shirt, you want to make sure the first button's right or you have to start all over again, okay? Socks left on left, right on right. Tying the shoes, we're going to take the laces, we're going to cross them over, we're going to turn around where the bunny goes down in the hole, pull it tight, and bunny ears. Got it?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Penn State is partnering with the historic Rowland Theater for the Center Film Festival this weekend in Phillipsburg. The event is bringing together filmmakers and others for a series of premieres, workshops, and other activities. Among the events, a series of master classes where professionals lead hands-on courses in photography, music, and storytelling. This is the inaugural event, but plans are already in the works to bring it back in the coming years. You can buy tickets online or at the door, and the festival opens today and runs through Sunday.
And that's all for today's newscast. You can find more of our stories on our website, centercountyreport.com.
And you can follow us anytime for breaking news on our Twitter feed, that's at Center County REP, or on our Facebook page. We also have a Center County Report Instagram. Join us for our next newscast on Tuesday. Have a great weekend.
Brush, brushy, brush, brushy, brush, brush your teeth. Every day and every night. Now it's your parents' turn. Here's what you gotta do. You have to have your toothbrush and a cushion brushy, brush your teeth. Good job, you're almost done. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. Help your teeth stay healthy. Brushy brush with a grown-up